Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, to every nick and cranny receiving the signals from our 100,000 watt transmitter emanating or going into those nooks and crannies to those little boxes known as radios, aka the Howard Reynolds machines. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Good morning to the entire world. Getting access to our station via the internet, formerly known as the ARPANET, created by whom? You, we, the people, folks. We got to take it back. We have stories today. We got to take it back. But before we get any busy, let's go ahead and say hello to the geniuses, Los Genios en el Estudio. The genius is in the studio. How you doing, my brothers?
Good morning, Egberto. It is Wednesday morning at the radio, and we are just about set to have a great show here. Nothing from me. I'm just watching the voter regret coming down. If you, it's funny. If you Google search voter regret, there are hundreds of pages on the internet going, "What did we just do?" Yeah. You'll find out. Jack, what you got, man?
Yours did. Hold on. Okay, government of, by, and for the billionaires. Citizens, get your pocketbooks ready to pay for this one. As Trump places cronies in position to loot the taxpayers' pockets, purses, and piggy banks, what are the people to do? How long will they lay there and let themselves be run over by a Trump administration? Too long. That's where it went out. Stand by and watch in horror. You only thought Halloween was over.
Your part actually did go out. Twice. Well, hey, it bears repeating, folks, that sometimes this is live radio, and live radio is unpredictable at times. It can be testy. It can be inconsistent. And, but it's live radio. You're not listening to a recording of Egberto from somewhere. You're listening to live radio, which is pretty cool. But it does come with its drawbacks. So you see, when you support KPFT with a donation, you get live radio. Sometimes it has a little warts on it, but it's okay. Make that donation as soon as you can. 713-526-5738. And you can also call us, too. Our phone lines are open. I'm taking over your show, Egberto, so let me hand it back to you.
Oh, no, you're doing great. I mean, let me tell you, that's the great thing about the kind of radio we do is teamwork. There ain't no Politics Done Right on KPFT without Brother Howard Reynolds and Brother Jack Van Beber. It's a team effort, and that's what makes it so well worth it, as you just said there, Howard. And that's why we also need the support. Yesterday, after hours, we were busy calling folks, lapsed members of KPFT to remind them about being a part of the team. We were also doing things like getting recordings from them to talk to them about why is it that they support KPFT? What do they love about KPFT? And what don't they love about KPFT? This is your program, guys. And, so everything that Brother Reynolds had to say is so true. This is the difference between this kind of radio and the mainstream. And not only that, here you get the unadulterated truth. And I'm going to start out with what Brother Jack had to speak about, the billionaires, because, folks, let me tell you what I don't want to be as a program. I don't want to come to this program every single day and just dog Republicans or dog MAGA or any that sort of a thing. So those of you that are MAGA that are listening to me right now, and those of you that are Republicans that are listening to me right now, look, I talk to the choir when I'm speaking to my progressive brotherhood, to my Democratic brotherhood. But guess what? Let me tell you what I feel deep within the heart as well. And I mean this. This is not just saying these things. The MAGA folks, you are my brothers. The Republican brothers and sisters. What the hell is wrong with me? How did I just say brothers? I'm used to having two brothers in the studio. You're my brothers and sisters. The MAGA folks, the Republican folks, hey, we are all on the same boat. We sink together, we rise together, etc. There are a select few in this country that depends on me hating you and you hating me. I want you to hear that again. There is a select few in this country that depends. They can only succeed if the mass vast of us are actually at each other's throats. And whenever we do that, they win. So if some of you get upset when I give time to a lot of our MAGA brothers that call in and I have a conversation with them and they're like, why are you giving them time? They're just snowing you or they're just trolling you, or maybe they are. But you know who's not trolling me? That other genuine person that's convinced that MAGA is the way. But they hear a progressive person talk to a MAGA person, give them the respect of listening and trying not to find a false common ground, but to get at where things really are. Okay? So I want to talk about the billionaires that Brother Jack brought up, etc. But we have two calls, and I'm going to take the two calls, and then we're going to jump back into it. So let's go to Harry. Come on in, Brother Harry. How you doing?
Good morning, Egberto. It's been a few days since I've talked to you.
I was going to say that, Harry. I was going to say, hey, you disappeared. If I hadn't heard from you in another couple of days, I would have dropped a line and said, hey, Harry, where the hell are you, dude? How you doing, brother?
No, I never disappear. On days that I don't call, I always listen. My friend from Florida, my friend from Florida has been, when I talked to him yesterday, and I talked to him last week, and he said, I was going to call Egberto's show. And I said, well, stop procrastinating and do it. and then he went to telling me, well, he may have been in a bad mood. And I said, look, friend, I have been calling Egberto's show for over a year, a little over a year now. I think this show, you moved it in May of last year. Egberto Willis is never in a bad mood when he does this show. What he does not like, and what Howard Reynolds does not like, and what Jack Van Dever does not like, is when you come on this show, or even on his 3 o'clock show, and you spread misinformation. That's when Egberto gets upset. And you keep trying to push that. There are certain callers that will spin things. I told my friend about Brian and how he likes to spin things. That's when Egberto gets upset. But if you know what you're talking about, then Egberto will let you talk and he will comment. Now, he may not always agree with it, but at least if you are telling truth, and Egberto can expand on it, or he'll tell you why he doesn't disagree with it. Because I keep telling him, when you do eventually get up the nerve to call, talk to Egberto and get his opinion on how he feels about Donald Trump. Okay, and he will tell you. But anyway, that's not the main reason why I called. The main reason why I called is and good morning, Howard, and good morning, Jack. But before I get into that, thank you, Howard, for playing Autumn Day before the show started, and some Kitty G. I know how much you love Kitty G. And also Greg Carucas, you played Chase the Wind a couple weeks ago. I'm still waiting for those other two songs. show me the way.
All right, Harry, get with the statement, my brother.
Let me get back to the politics. Let me get back to politics. But you guys are doing a good job. Let me get back to politics. I really loved that video you played yesterday. Who was that wacky senator that you played before you started taking calls? He sounds like a yes man, and he's up here defending Donald Trump and talking about and defending that crazy, wacky, Matt Gaetz, and how he wants to with the FBI. He wants to gut the FBI and the CDC. And I just like the way you put it when you talked about how Trump took his Trump stole from his charity, all those bankruptcies, and then the other thing when you were saying that yesterday after you finished the video, the other thing that popped in my head, and Trump ripped off the state of New York. Let's not forget tax fraud, mortgage fraud. And
look, he did. Look, Harry, you're so right. I got to go to the other call, Harry, but you're so right about that. But you know what? That's what I want to talk to all people about. Anything, if others had done what Donald Trump had done, it would be over. But let me go to Ilan, Harry, and then let's talk tomorrow, brother. Well, actually, let's talk to
because I want to know what that senator's name.
We'll talk tomorrow. Promise. Let's go to Ilan. Come on, Ilan.
Alan is here. Briefly.
Oh wait. I'm sorry. Did I say it wrong? Is it Alan? I've been bastardizing your name for a long time, man. Forgive me.
Yeah, I'm not related to Musk. Anyway,
go ahead, brother.
Yes. A choice of words. We can never go back to the way things were because history evolves and there's always changes that are permanent and new ones. So I would like to hear people drop the phrase, take society back, and replace it with the phrase, take society forward. That's
I agree.
all I have to say.
Look, I agree with you 100%, Alan. 100%, we have to talk about taking society forward. The thing about it is, when those people that want to take society back, when they talk about those things, they are pretty much talking about get back the unearned privilege that they have. That is what it really means. Anytime you hear somebody say, go back to this or go back to that, they're talking about going back to where they had unearned privilege. That's what it's all about. And notice I said unearned privilege. Continue, Alan.
That's true. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Have a great day, my brother. All right. Let's go to Champ. Come on in, Champ.
Good morning. I want to comment on Brian's call yesterday morning.
Yes.
He said that Trump said Chinese people couldn't come into the country, and people called it racist. Well, it was. And what shows it is that U.S. citizens that were in China at that time could come in freely. They didn't get tested. They didn't have to be quarantined. They came in and they went wherever they wanted, spreading whatever they were bringing back with them.
True. Is that what you wanted to say, Champ?
Yes, and something else. It was about an error I've heard you make. You said that the economic problem was caused by Trump's mishandling of COVID. That didn't actually cause it. That just accelerated it. The main cause was his tax cut for millionaires and billionaires. Mm-hmm. That does it every time. Nancy Reagan did it. Everybody that cuts taxes for millionaires and billionaires hurts the economy.
Look, I agree with you 100%. I don't think my implication was that that Trump's sole destruction of the economy was his handling of the pandemic. If I said that, what I really mean is that it is it was a responsibility for the quick crash that we had. In other words, going from having a drop to a 10, 12% unemployment that we had because people had to stay home, that was a direct result of the pandemic. But you are absolute the pandemic that was exacerbated because of his poor handling. Of course, my contention is if we had handled COVID the way Obama and even Bush too handled the possibility of having a pandemic, there would have been no pandemic if we as the United States did what we could have done as a smart country. But that's beyond. But you are correct 100% that anytime you cut taxes on the wealthy at the expense of breaks for the many, what you get exactly a slowdown in the economy. And there's a Keynesian reason, and I'm going to go into numbers, and there's a Keynesian reason why that is true. Whenever you give tax cut to a billionaire or a super millionaire or whatever, that money there's not necessarily reason or a place to invest that money because you have not yet created a demand. So from a Keynesian point of view, what you're doing is you're putting money into the hands of folks that won't necessarily throw it into the economy. But when you put the money into the hands of regular folks, whether it be food stamps or whether it be what we like, those of us who want basic income, etc., you put the money that creates a demand, and that demand is then handled by further investments. But you have to create a demand to warrant investment, and that is what creates economic activity. So, yes, sir, you're correct, and that's a technical reason why you are, in fact, correct. Anything else, Champ?
Right. The working people are going to spend it.
Exactly.
Hope
Anything else, brother?
Day. Thank you for
You have a wonderful
call.
day as well. Thank you, Champ. All right, let's go to Bart. Come on in, Bart.
Hi, good morning, sir. I just was wondering if you could speak on more current events, like, for instance, why are we firing long-range missiles into Russia, and why is Biden given authorization to do this when Biden's not even well enough to run a presidential campaign?
Okay, let's get something straight first of all, with respect to. Do you want me to answer your question, my brother?
The poor people in Ukraine
would you like me to
are going to be the ones to suffer this response.
Would you like me to answer your question, sir? Here we go.
Yes, I would.
Go. All right, here we go. First thing about Biden's health, okay? I thought Biden was too old to run an election. In other words, he couldn't run around the country the way Kamala Harris ran around the country with vigor. He couldn't do that. He was aging at a faster pace, if you will, than a Donald Trump or a Kamala Harris. That is the visible truth that you can see. There's nothing wrong with the man's mind. The man's mind is sharp as hell, and it's not hard to discern that. He runs mincemeat around Brother Trump. Because again, the reason why he runs mincemeat around Brother Trump is that Brother Trump does not have any intellect worth speaking of. You can't ask him a question about world politics, capitals of the world, how things have occurred throughout the history. He simply doesn't know these things. And the reason he doesn't know these things is he have no interest in knowing these things. It's not that he's inherently dumb. He's simply dumb because of choice. Again, he was given everything in his life, and that's a behavior that he has. I'm speaking to you objectively now. You can't ask Donald Trump a question and get a fact-based answer. The only person who would believe it's a fact-based answer is someone who doesn't know history. Unfortunately, Brother Biden knows history well. In fact, he's part of creating a lot of history, whether you like the history he created or not. With respect to firing missiles into Russia, look, I am not one who likes war. I am not a supporter of Russia or, in fact, Ukraine. The truth of the matter is Ukraine isn't this saintful nation that that Biden or anyone would want you to believe it is. But the one thing that I am completely disapproving of is a sovereign country invading another sovereign country and taking land from that sovereign country, whoever it is. Whether it's a communist country, a democratic country, I don't care what kind of country it is. After we've had established borders, anybody who goes into the other country should be attacked, should be taken care of. And the reason why is you will not support a Mexico encroaching on Texas or a Canada encroaching on North Dakota. You would not. So we should not support a Russia encroaching on Ukraine. All right. So these answers are not difficult. They are rather simple if one wants to be honest and not playing the propaganda that you get out of the right wing. Anything else you'd like to ask, Bard?
Yeah, I feel sorry for the Ukrainians and hope they don't get nuked.
Well, I don't feel sorry for either side. I just want the problem resolved. And anybody who thinks that Russia is going to use nukes on a country adjacent doesn't understand how nukes work. When you blow a nuke up, the blast and the radioactivity from the nukes doesn't know where it follows the wind. And therefore, we don't have to worry about Russia using a nuke, because Russia using a nuke in Ukraine is equivalent to Russia using a nuke in Russia, because the blowback will go right back into Russia, pollute their milk supply and everything else. So Russia would do that at their own perils. Anything else before I jump to Johnny?
Yeah, I hope they don't use it over here on us as retaliation.
Again, that would be mutual assured destruction, Matt, and that is well established. Thank you, Bard. You have a wonderful day, but history is important. Don't follow the right wing. It makes you dumber. Go ahead, Johnny.
Did I just hear Breitbart ask you a question as simplistic as why is Joe Biden sending missiles over Russia? Did he just ask you that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did.
Breitbart, if you're still listening, let me ask you something. Your questions are always purposefully antagonistic. You're not interested in learning anything, are you? Let me ask you this. Do you object to Netanyahu bombing the crap out of a tiny landmass where how many Palestinians used to live there? 4 million? The size of Las Vegas?
Yeah.
And he's reducing it to rubble with our bombs, using our taxpayer money against our will, without our consent. Do you have a problem with that? Our foreign policy under Joe Biden is backwards. Instead of sending our money and armaments to Israel, who's an aggressor, we should be sending it to Ukraine so they can defend themselves against another aggressor, Netanyahu. Do you see the difference? And by the way, Putin is bluffing for the reasons that Egberto just pointed out. Why would you explode nuclear weapons in your own landmass? By the way, he's trying to take over that landmass for himself. So why would you kill a bunch of Russians to take over a landmass near your landmass and then nuke it? That sounds as stupid as some Republicans, I swear to God. That's all I have to say.
Hey, Johnny, let me just say something. I have I read it every day. I read it. I have a listener to our 3:00 show, E2247. Every day he gives the running count of what's occurring in Gaza, and I make sure to diligently read it. Thank you for bringing up the Gaza issue here. Now, I am going to be out on Friday. I'll be playing a tape show on Friday. The interesting thing about that show is I'll have Charlotte Dennett on, who is the daughter of an American spy in the Middle East that was killed. And she is going to tell the true story, the story that we're not hearing here, about why Netanyahu has pretty much leveled Gaza. Just like Bush was waiting for the perfect excuse to invade and decimate Iraq. It's the same thing that Netanyahu did in Israel. And our Jewish brothers and sisters in Israel and beyond, they should be very, very upset at Netanyahu because Netanyahu used his own people. They knew that an action to harm and maim and kill and murder many Jews were in the works. And they needed that action to do what they're doing now. In effect, Netanyahu sacrificed our Jewish brothers and sisters in Israel for an ulterior motive. And we're going to kind of talk about that with Charlotte Dennett, whose dad, again, is Daniel Dennett. You can look that up, a former U.S. spy. But that's not what his official title was, of course. You know, it was something in the government agency, etc. But she wrote a book called Follow the Pipelines. And we're going to talk about that. And I think I'm going to play that on Friday. I'll probably play that on Thursday afternoon and then Friday. But anyhow, let's go to Betty. Come on in, Betty. How are you doing, beautiful? Sister Betty, you're on.
Oh, yes, sir. I want to talk about what Jack said about money and Trump. He is an old guy, but he still has a body function part. You know, he has, degraded the White House. How much more can he degrade the White House? Have a check-up job, and we're paying for it, there. How much more is he degrading? We are living history. Shame. And the people that are saying that what have they done on Google? Those people are beginning to walk. Keep on walking, people. And I love the word ain't. Love you all. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Betty. Appreciate you, sister. All right. We are going to talk about billionaires. And I want to start with an article from brother, what's his name? Robert Reich. I interviewed Robert Reich a couple of times with Move to Amend when we were talking about getting money out of politics. I mean, we've been at this for years, for decades, actually. But Robert Reich pretty much encapsulate what's happening with the Trump, what Trump is doing right now with his cabinet picks, etc. So he wrote an article titled, Trump is creating a government of billionaires, by billionaires, for billionaires. And I'm going to read a few segments and comment real quickly because this is important. But before I start, the way I started the program today, I said, I don't want this show to be a show that's just attacking Donald Trump. That's not the point. I don't want this program to be Republican versus Democrat versus progressive versus none of that. It sounds that way a lot of times, but that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is for us to land in the place that we need to land. Because again, my Republican neighbor, and damn it, most of my neighbors are Republicans, they are living in the same area that I'm living in. And the same issues that I have, they have. They're Republicans. I am a progressive. They're right wing. I'm very left wing. But it's amazing that when we sit and talk, the things that they want are the same policies that I push for. But they just can't get over the hump of their identity as what they think Republican means. A lot of times I have to remind folks in the 1960s, I would have likely been a Republican because that was where, where people were fighting supposedly for fair rights, right? But anyhow, let's start with the article. What do card sharks, magicians, pickpockets, and tyrants do to hide their tricks? They deflect your attention. Look over there. they say, as they are creating a commotion that preoccupies your mind while they bamboozle you. I'll just take that as a statement. What were you worried about? What did Trump make you worry about? They're eating your dogs. They're eating your cats. The migration coming across the other side of the world, they're killing you. All of those were lies, right? But they had the support of the mainstream media as well, your local media. Houston is a city of a metropolitan area of over 4 million people. A metropolitan area of over 4 million people. Every single day, somebody gets murdered. Every single day, somebody gets raped, more than one, etc. In this amount of city, all bad things. But of all of those, every month or another, every other month or so, one of the criminals turn out to be an undocumented person. But proportional to undocumented and proportional to native born, the crime rate among those are so much lower than the crime rate of born Americans. But the narrative out there was fear the immigrant, fear those people coming across the border, fear those people. And that is one of the messages that was used to win. So as Robert Reich talks about smoke and mirrors. Now that Trump has been elected, you don't hear them talking about the migrant stuff other than they're going to round them up and throw them into these things, preparing you. And what are they preparing you for? They're preparing you to say, when you see us spending all the money with these private companies to house these people, this is a reason for. But what it really is a bribe. A bribe to make sure that these private prison companies, the CEOs and the billionaires who own them, they take more of our money. My neighbor, my Republican neighbor's money that he's paying in his taxes is going to go right into the hands of the billionaires. At first, continue with the article. At first, I thought U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's gonzo nominations were intended to flood the zone, overwhelm us, demoralize us, cause us to lose our minds. Alternatively, I thought they had a strategic purpose, smoke out Senate Republicans who might stand in Trump's way on other issues, such as align with Russians, Vladimir Putin, and destroy NATO, so Trump could purge the holdouts through primary challengers and angry MAGA. But while flooding the zone and purging recalcitrant Senate Republicans may be part of it, I've come to think that there's a whole lot more to it. It's a bigger plan. Trump wants to deflect our attention while he and his fellow billionaires loot America. That's the whole spiel. They are looting America. As he consolidates power, Trump is on his way to creating a government of billionaires by billionaires for billionaires. Trump intuitively knows that the most powerful and insidious of all alliances is between rich oligarchs and authoritarian strongmen. 2 billionaires are leading his transition team. The richest person in the world and other billionaires will run a new department of efficiency. Other billionaires are waiting in the wings to be anointed to various positions. America is now home to 813 billionaires whose cumulative wealth has grown staggeringly 50% since before the pandemic. Apologists for these mind-boggling amounts argue they're not a zero-sum gain where the rest of us must lose ground in order for billionaires to prosper. Quite the contrary, they say the billionaires' achievements expand the economic pie for everyone. But the apologists overlook one important thing. Power is a zero-sum game. Thus, more power a billionaire in billionaires' hands, the less power in everyone else's hands. And power cannot be separated from wealth or wealth from power. But it's a false statement as well. I wish Robert Reich had said this. In an expanding pie, which the American economy and just about every major economy is an expanding pie. If you are expanding at a larger clip than the average American citizen, it is a zero-sum gain, not only on the power base, but on an economic base. And that's why they're talking about cutting Social Security in order to provide tax cuts for the wealthy. Back to the article. The shameless feeding frenzy that has already begun at the trust of Trump, planning for more tax cuts for the wealthy, regulatory rollbacks to make the wealthy and their corporations even wealthier, subsidies for the wealthy and their enterprises constitute a zero-sum power game that will hurt average Americans. The pending tax cuts will explode the national debt. As a result, the rest of America will have to pay more in interest payments to the holders of that debt, who not incidentally are wealthy Americans. I want to break that down because many of you don't ever see this because of how things work. Check this out. We cut taxes, which gives more money to the millionaires, super millionaires, and billionaires. So that's one way we pay them. We cut their taxes. Remember, their taxes should be high. Why? Because their monies aren't earned. Their monies are earned by others, and they receive the cumulative excess labor of everybody else. That's a technical term we can go into another time. But remember, the millionaire doesn't have real earned income after a certain point. That's the one place they get the money. After they get that tax cut, to pay for our bills, we have to borrow money. And who do we borrow money from? The people we gave tax cuts to. So in effect, we give money to them with a tax cut, which means we get more debt. We then ask them to fund our debt, meaning we borrow from them. And they say, sure, take back the money that I was supposed to pay in taxes as a debt. And now you have to pay them interest for using the money they didn't pay in taxes. So that's two income streams. You gave them a tax cut, and now you have to pay them to take back that money to use it. So now they're making money twice. What else do? They take that tax cut, the ones that are for corporations, and buy back their stocks, right? As they buy back their stocks, that means less stocks are in circulation. And what happens then? The price of the stock appreciates. Okay? And when a stock appreciates, what does it mean? You have more money. That's more income. And guess what? That extra income that they make, because it's called capital gains, they pay a lower tax rate than the working man, than the person who goes ahead and builds the streets and build the homes and build all these things. Their tax rate is even less than that. So that's 4 income streams from that tax cut to the billionaire. And you want to wonder why their income rises as fast compared to the average American citizen? He's right. An economy by billionaires for billionaires. Continuing. Meanwhile, regulatory rollbacks will make workplace less safe, products more dangerous, our air and water more polluted, national parks less welcoming, national travel more hazardous, and financial transactions. And none of that bothers the wealthy because they can live in a gated community. They can have the equipment necessary to purify the air in their homes. And they don't have to fly commercial. So if every 1,000 flights crash, who cares? We fly on our private jets that are very well protected. And then, of course, we have the military to protect us all. I'm going to skip some of his article here and remind all of you that what Donald Trump is doing by putting all these wealthy spokespeople on his team is looking out for their interests, not yours. So while he campaigned on doing things for you. That's what he campaigned on. But we told you all along that was just the campaign, the bait and switch. And as he governs, He governs for the wealthy. So everything that he does, there is going to be an income stream for him or his billionaire friends. So you round up all those undocumented workers, you get a payment from the jail industrial complex to lock them up and hold them before you deport them. You get some money from the charter companies that are going to have the charter flights to send them back home, the millions of people that are going to be sent homes, which means we have hundreds of thousands of flights, a lot of income there as well. Then, of course, you get the income from the payoffs that you get from the farmers who are going to say, please look the other way. I have to get my oranges cosechar. I harvested. I have to get my carrots harvested. I have to get my tomatoes harvested. I got to get my cabbage harvested. So he goes to the farmer and he says, okay, we'll look the other way. What's in it for me? Hey, that super PAC there, we just put $20 million into that super PAC. Hey, that super PAC there, we just got $100 million. We have turned our country into a grift. And all our MAGA brothers and sisters who invested, who had a vested interest in their racial identity for the reason they voted for Trump. Because he's going to make America great again. Because he's going to do all the things to glorify your whiteness or your assumption to whiteness. Because that is intrinsically what this guy has taught you to feel. He's taught you to feel that somebody's taken something from you that is undeserving. And brothers and sisters, that's the easiest way to get you. That's the easiest way to get you. And you know what? So far he did. All right, I'm going to go back to the phone. I'm not going to finish the article. It's listed in our list already, so you can get there. Let's go to Peggy. Come on in, Peggy.
Hey, I thought I was going to have to wait in line. Good morning.
Well, I mean, let me tell you, I threw you to the front of the line because I hadn't seen a Peggy call in recently. So talk to me, Peggy.
Yeah, I've been laying low. It's been interesting to hear what you just read and couple that with what I just heard about Morning Joe going off to Mar-a-Lago and being assured that Trump is not going to run again. And they seem to act like there'll be another election. That what I heard you talking is exactly Putin's play for getting himself where he is. And when I heard that Trump said that he wasn't going to run again, it meant there's never going to be another election. Not that he's not going to run again in 4 years, but he has got himself entrenched. There is no authority, no power, no ability to get him out of that seat.
Let me tell you, if the Supreme Court has already said that anything he does in the name of the presidency is he's immune from doing it. So technically speaking, one could make the argument that if he illegally tries to stay in office unconstitutionally, because he is doing so from the point of view of being in office, that he has immunity. And the only way to get him out is if 2/3 of the Senate or 3/4, I don't remember the number, I think it's 60 senators go ahead and say, okay, we want you out of there. But here's the thing, sister, you couldn't get 60 senators to do that. So correct. The truth of the matter is it is still a possibility that if he wants to do that, he probably can. So
I see him,
Peggy,
I see him. Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay, I see him placing Matt Gaetz in charge of the Department of Justice, no matter what anybody thinks or says he has any ability to do. I mean, all of his appointments are going to get in there. There is nothing to be done about that. I really do not want to live in the dictatorship of America. I would prefer to live in the Republic of California, and I'm still pressing for Biden to make a declaration and send it to, I thought just to the states that Kamala won, but I think he needs to send this declaration to every single state, because there may be others who may be willing to not live under Donald Trump's new
let me tell Peggy, let me just stop you there for a second, Peggy. Let me tell you, don't lose hope. All right. Let me just say that. Have more faith in we, the American people. And let me explain what I mean by that. And the other calls, I'm going to have to shorten everything because of, and it's my management. I'm sorry. But here's the thing that I want to tell you. This is important. This election was not even close to a landslide. It's going to be 1%. By the time all the numbers are counted, it's going to be between 1 and 1.5%. And that's not an electoral landslide. Donald Trump is going to win by a margin less than Hillary Clinton lost to him. Hillary Clinton lost to him even after winning the popular vote by 3 million votes. He is going to win the popular vote by under 2.5 million people. So she would have lost with a larger popular vote than he would have won with a popular vote. So America will be awoken. And that's what many of us progressives are doing, awaken America. So please, we are going to be just fine. We will be just fine. I promise you that.
I'm not losing hope. I'm being realistic. I doubt very much that there will be an election in 2 years.
Let me tell you this, Peggy. You better believe there's going to be an election in 2 years. We'll see to it. So trust on that. But Peggy, I got to go to Nancy. So thank you so kindly for calling, and keep listening and keep calling. Okay, sister.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Let's go to Nancy. Come on in, Nancy. I got to kind of reduce on time, guys. Go ahead, Nancy.
Okay. Thanks. Tomorrow, the U.S. House is going to vote on H.R. 94, 95. And this
very
is
important.
Yes, very important vote. So please listen. It's got a confusing title, Stop Terror Financing Tax Penalties on American Hostages Act. But what it will do is leave the complete authority of the Secretary of Treasury to cut tax exemption status for any nonprofit that is perceived to be backing terror.
Let me just say real quick, Nancy. What they want to do is they're going to take away the tax status for anything that Donald Trump or his minions deem is funding some organization they arbitrarily call a terrorist organization. We cannot have that. Call your senator, call your congressperson. Actually, right now it's your congressperson because it's in the House. It's in the House.
Yeah, the vote
call your congressperson and tell them to vote no. Thank you, Nancy. That was very important information, Nancy.
16 did not vote last week, and Colin Allred, he voted yes, and Henry Cuellar, he voted yes, and Vicente Gonzalez from the Valley voted yes. But you know what? We need to call all of them, any House of because there was 16 that didn't even vote. And they're
Nancy,
like turning.
Gotta go. You're right. Nancy, you're correct. Thank you, Nancy. I gotta go, but you're correct. Moses, come on in. Moses, real quick, Moses. I don't have a lot of time.
I'm going to be very short. Donald Trump, this speech of Donald Trump and his billionaire, this is an illusion. The battle, again, as I always say, belongs to God. One tornado, one earthquake, one hurricane, one tsunami. And we will see whose word will stand. Now, let me say finally, our sins have procured us these things, our racial prejudice, our all of the stupid things that we are thinking of. We hated our brothers, and so we went backwards. Take care we don't have to beg a Mexican to dig a hole in the wall to drag us through. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sister. All right, let's go to Brian. Very short time, Brian.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I've come to the conclusion you have no idea what you're talking about. None whatsoever. And you are the only person I know on radio that can take a Trump tax cut and turn it into a racial issue. You're insane, man. You truly are. You're insane. How many billionaires are there in the United States?
813.
813. How many of them are Democrats?
I don't know.
The vast majority of them are. But you continually say that he has billionaires, that he's going to give them tax cuts. Talk to anyone that worked for.
All right, Brian. I told you I had to go quickly, but here's the deal. Let me just answer you. You accuse me of turning everything racial. I suggest you go listen to the transcript again because you're completely wrong. But thank you, brother. Have a good one. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick, I got to go real quick, my brother.
Yeah, to Bart, maybe if we understand that we live in a world that nuclear war is always a threat, we could worry more about that and talk to people around the cooler for cooler talk, worry less about who's taking a knee during NFL games and worry less about people's genitalia and worry more about who's got nuclear weapons and worry more about who's being elected into office that threatens the use of war, because that's what increases this. Have some real thoughts.
Man, I love that, Patrick. You're so right. And, that is sort of what Robert Reich was saying. The thing to keep, it's like the bread and circus in the olden days of how the king used to keep power. Keep your bellies full and keep them entertained. That is the kind of thing that Trump does. Thank you, Patrick. Let's talk at 3. Let's go to David. Come on in, David. Real quick. I only got 30 seconds for you, David.
Oh, thanks, Egberto. Yeah, I think I could toss in on almost all the final callers just by pushing boycott. You remember Harlan Crow? Well, he has a whole lot of property in Texas. Boycott it. And if you're a lawn jockey, boycott cutting his lawn. I think it's crowproperties.com. And then there's a section in there of industrial, there's residential, there's commercial, and boycott it all. Find Project 2025. I think Uline is a cardboard box company, and they're one of the Project 25. I think they're number 2 on the list of Project 2025 companies. And
I like David. I got to go, but I like where you're going with that. We have power, and that is the kind of thing that I want our sister Peggy, who just called in. We are going to win this battle. Like I said, this was not a landslide election. This was an election where a whole lot of people stayed home. And with a lot of people staying home, the man only could pull a 1.5% popular vote win. Hillary pulled a bigger popular vote loss by a bigger popular vote win by losing to him. This guy is no winner. And so thank you very much, David, for your call. I got to go to the studio. Thank you, sir. I got to go back to the studio. But before I go to the studio, I just want to say this because Brian just sort of hit a nerve. There's nothing ever intrinsically racial about anything that I talk about. I do speak about race, but I speak about race because America is a racialized country. But as anybody who listens to my show understands, I make it very clear. Race is the most insidious, stupid thing because it has little value other than the historical uses that the billionaires have used from the days of slavery to now to fool all, mostly white people, into believing that meant something, which was the exact way to screw them all. We go into that many times, but we'll do that another time. Let me go to my 2 brothers in the studio.
Voter regret. Look it up. Voter regret.
Bamboozle. America's 813 billionaires double dipping in the tax pool.
Man, I love you guys. Anyway, folks, look, love you all of you, including you, Brian, including you, Bard. And look, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter is where all the rest of the program is. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. 4 Democrat-led counties defied a Pennsylvania state law and counted undated mail-in ballots, a controversy under litigation for years. An immediate issue is the outcome of the Commonwealth's U.S. Senate race. Recounts began November 18th in the Senator Bob Casey-David McCormick race, with McCormick holding on to a 17,000-vote lead, less than 0.5%. Pennsylvania's election law does not allow otherwise eligible ballots which are missing a date on the envelope to be counted, an error which disenfranchised as many as 10,000 voters in the 2022 midterms. October 5th, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court rejected a case challenging the rule, saying it was too close to the election, so most Pennsylvania counties did not count undated ballots. But in Bucks, Center, and Philadelphia counties, Democrat-majority county election boards did count the ballots, citing that the date was immaterial to the intent of the voter. As an automatic recount began November 18th, the Commonwealth's highest court affirmed that those ballots could not be counted. Ironically, while McCormick fought to keep undated ballots from being counted in 2024, a WHYY report points out that he sued to count undated ballots in his failed 2022 U.S. Senate primary, a race decided by only 972 votes. We have much more at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org. I'm Brian Beal.
Let's be honest. The National Symphony may not be in his future, but he wanted to try violin. So you said yes because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more about keeping your kids safe in your vehicle at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Show him you love him. Keep him safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.